Ryan Gimel is good.
If one serves truma food to his sons who are minors or to his slaves, whether adults or minors, or eats truma from outside of Eretz Israel, or eats less than an olive's bulk of truma, he repays the value, but not does not pay the fifth. And that which is given in payment is chulin, and if the priest wishes to forego, he can forego. This is the general principle. Whatever the value plus a fifth is repaid, the repayment is truma. If the priest wishes to forego, he may not do so. And whenever the value is repaid but not the fifth, the repayment is chulin. If the priest wishes to forego, he can forego. If there were two baskets, one of truma and the other one chulin, and the sa of trula fell into one of them, and it is not known into which one fell, I presume that it fell into one of the. I'm sorry. I presume that it fell into one of truma. It is not known which is of truma and which is of chulin, and he ate one of them, he is exempt, and the other he treats as truma, and it is liable to chala. So says Reb Meir. Reb Yossi exempts. If another person ate the other one, he is exempt, and if one ate both, he repays the value of the smaller one of the two. Okay.
Okay. So now we've got the situation where you've got the suffix of which pile is truma and which pile is chulin. Nafla chas mehen lesocha chulin. And now one of those two fell into another pile of chulin. Okay. Eina medamatan. Again, it does not make meduma. Vashnia noheg ba ketshuma. But the second one, because once again we have because we have the suffix, we can be tole and say, oh, it was the chulin that fell into the chulin. As long as you're dealing with it with an issur d'Rabbanan, which means that it's more than it's less than the majority. Okay, if the majority is vaday chulin, then we know then we can be tole. Okay. Eina medamatan. V'hashniya noeg ba'akid shuma. And once again, Rabbi Meir comes in and says his opinion, which is consistent with the previous Mishnah. The second pile, which now that we've said that we're being told that the first pile is the chulin, the second one we're going to treat like truma, the chayeves b'chala, but because of the suffix, you still have to separate chala from it. Divrei Rabbi Meir, as he said before. Rabbi Yossi Poter. Again, Rabbi Yossi comes in and says, "Sorry, you don't have to do it because it could be that that's the real truma, so no need to separate it." And in any case, it's going to the coin. So one way or another, the chal is getting to the coin. Nafla shnia lemakom acher. What happens if the second pile falls into a different pile of kolin? Again, ena medamata. It does not form to meduma because they're two different piles, and each one you can be independently tole. Naflu shtein lemakom echad. If both of them fell into one place, medam os kish katana shebeshtein, then we can say that they will be make meduma according to the size of the smaller of the two of them, because we can be tole again that the smaller one is the truma, and yeah, okay. No huge chiddushim in that one once you've learned the principles from the previous ones. Mishnah Zayin, Zara es achas mehen. Now, what happens if you planted the seeds? Okay, so let's just do some background here. If you take truma and you plant it deliberately, then what's going to grow is going to be considered truma. If it was accidental, then you start talking about did the seed did the seed grow did the seed disintegrate and then grow? So like grain,
Mm.
is something that disintegrates in the ground, but what doesn't is an onion or a garlic. Okay. So if the original is still intact, then what comes up is still truma. Okay. So that's just quick background information over here. So what happens is he had these two piles and he wasn't sure which one is truma and which one is chulin, and he went and sowed one of them. Pater, you don't have to worry about it. Again, you can be tole. Okay. Vashniha noheg ba ketshuma v'chayev es b'chala divrei Rabbi Meir. Once again, the same thing with Rabbi Meir. He says you've got to take challah from it, even though it's truma. Rabbi Yossi Poter says no, you don't take challah from it. Forget about it. Okay. Zara acher es hashniya. Another guy came and took the second one and sowed it in his field. And once again, pater, each one of them individually can be tole on his field that was the chulin. Uh, okay, zar acher es shtehen. What happens? Zar echad es shtehen. If one person went and sowed both of these, and so now we know for sure that somewhere in this field is truma. Okay,
Hmm.
Bedava shizarakale, if it is of this a species that disintegrates like wheat, mutar, then the diavad, you say no, you shouldn't have done that. Bedava she'ein zarakale, but if it's a species that does not disintegrate in the ground like onions, um, that's this is now asur, and whatever grows out of it is considered meduma. Let's just say it's considered truma to the extent that it's mixed in with the chulin. We're not sure which is which, and we call the whole field meduma.
Yeah.
Okay. Ches aleph. Ha'isha shehaisa ocheles betruma. So you've got a woman she is a bas Yisrael who is married to a kohen. Mm, okay. And she's busy eating truma, her mouth is full and she swallows and then and a breathless messenger walks into the house and says to her, Meis Baalech, your husband died like whatever, 10 minutes ago. Okay, and in those 10 minutes and she doesn't have any children. That's the important thing. She doesn't have any children, which means that as soon as her husband dies, she reverts to being Bas Yisrael. If she had children, then she stays a Kohenes. Okay. But in this particular case, she now knows that for the last 10 minutes she's been a Bas Yisrael eating truma. Okay. Or Gershech, or your husband divorced you. So all of the commentators sit up over here and say, "What do you mean your husband divorced you? How could the husband divorce her without her knowledge? She has to receive the get. That's part of the thing. So okay, so if she didn't receive the get, then she must have sent a shaliach. But if she sent a shaliach, then she knew that she was about to be divorced, and she would have been asked to eat truma from the moment that the shaliach left. So everyone's looking at this and saying, wow, how could her husband have divorced her? And how could she be eating truma and be totally blindsided by the fact that her husband divorced her? So they have to define this down to a situation where she gave the shaliach instructions only to receive the get in a certain place. So, she sent her shaliach, and remember, if he violates his shlichus, then it's not a good get because so he has to receive it in that particular place. So she reckoned she had enough time to sit and eat one last little bit of truma before the husband got to that place, and she miscalculated, and the husband actually got to that place a lot sooner than she thought it was possible. And they come and say, okay, yeah, I'm back already. She says, what? He was only supposed to come tomorrow. Okay, so that's your sort of situation that you've got there. Okay. Um, just pause on the halacha over here while we introduce a whole bunch of other cases where somebody is blindsided by the fact that they're no longer allowed to eat truma. Chena Eved. So you've got an Eved Knani who belongs to a Kohen. Shehaisa Ochel B'Truma, and he also has been sitting eating a nice truma meal, which he's allowed to do as an Eved Knani belonging to a Kohen. Uba'u v'amru lo meis rabach. Your your master has died. Okay, why should that hurt? Because he immediately becomes the property of the son. So the son's also a Kohen, presumably. But what happens if there aren't any sons and now he's passed into the possession of a daughter who's married to Israel? Okay, so that's your situation. Is now automatically he has been inherited by a daughter of the Kohen who's married to a Israel. Okay, or mecharach Israel, or we just did a transaction in the marketplace and the Kohen sold you to Israel. Or nesanach b'matana, or he gave you as a gift to Israel. This is all can be done without the slave's consent. Okay, or asach ben chorin, or your master has freed you. So now you're a full Yisrael. like basically a freed slave is like as the din of a ger. Okay, v'chein kohen sheheya ochel b'tshuma. Similarly, a kohen was sitting and eating truma. V'noda shehu ben grusha or ben chalotza, and they came in. They said, "Listen, we did some investigations on your yichus, and here are the receipts. Your mother was previously divorced before marrying your father." Okay, Rabbi Eliezer mechayev keren v'chomesh. So Rabbi Eliezer says, "Well, this is like any Yisrael who accidentally ate truma." And he must pay back Keren v'chomesh because he was eating truma shelokadin. Rabbi Yeshua Poter says this is not called a shogeg, this is an ones, because they had every right to be sitting and eating that truma. And the fact that they got completely blindsided and whoa, I'm not actually a kohen anymore. I'm not entitled to eat the truma. That is something that's on the level of ones, and Rabbi Yeshua says he is completely parted from any repayments. Okay, similar case. Cohen was standing. Haya omed umakriv al gabe hamizbeach. He's on duty in the temple. Okay, v'noda shehu ben grusha or ben chalutza, and suddenly somebody comes out and gives him this terrible news that actually we've looked into your yiflus and we've discovered that you're not really a Cohen. Okay, ben grusha ben chalutza. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Kol hakorban asher kriv al gabe hamizbeach pesulim. So consistent with his previous position being stringent on the coin, he says, well, anything that the coin did today is puzzle. So they have to go back and find everyone that he did a korban for and say, listen, sorry, your korban was puzzle. You need to go back and do it again. Rabbi Yeshua Machshir. Um, Rabbi Yeshua says that we only go from the moment that he knows about it, which is an interesting position. And it's difficult to understand. Like I was just thinking in terms of consistency, why does it make sense for either of them to say what they do? Um, yeah, Rabbi Yeshua, I'm gonna say is like a little bit easier to understand because of what I'll say about Rabbi Eliezer. Because if Rabbi Eliezer is saying that his work that his avoda today was puzzle, then why doesn't he go back through history and say, well, I mean, he's never been a Kohen. So now let's go back and find everyone who's ever done a korban that this Kohen has done, and say, sorry, you had a Yisrael who was doing your avodah for you. So why dafka today? Uh,
Right,
what about yesterday?
right.
So it seems like an inconsistent position, and maybe Rabbi Eliezer is saying, okay, well, let's be practical. We can't go back and puzzle everything retroactively. Um, but if that's the case, then Rabbi Yeshua says, well, fine. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying is that in klar as klar. Once you're taking the liberty of saying that we're not going to tell people to come and bring another korban for everything that this guy did from today, then from yesterday, then let's also leave it alone for today.
I
Um,
can I can hear that.
yeah,
Interesting.
you can hear that, right? So Rabbi Yeshua Machshir, not Ashu Balmum. However, if he's busy doing the avoda and somebody comes up to the Kohen and says, excuse me, I don't know if you noticed, but you've got all the mumim are described in Maseches Bechoros, right? Your eyebrows have grown together. You've got a unibrow is a psul, is a mum, right?
Right.
And so they're looking like you haven't shaved your eyebrows, you know. You should have did, right? And he says, really? And they say, well, look, I mean, that's a mum. You shouldn't have been doing this. Then everyone is going to agree, avodas psula, because this was really a mum, and he had a responsibility to like check if he's got a mum or not, and somebody should have noticed. If not him, then somebody else should have noticed, and that is now a real case of negligence that they allowed a Kohen Balmum to go and do the avoda, and that even Rabbi Yeshua is going to say, sorry, everything that you did is puzzle.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. We are on Yud
Good.
Yud. Yud.
Yeah.
But in this, Rabbi Eliezer is lenient and Yeshua is stringent. If one presses a liter of dried figs into the mouth of a jar and does not know into which, Rabbi Eliezer says they are regarded as if they were separated, and those below annul those above. Rabbi Yeshua says they do not annul unless there is 100 jars. There are 100 jars. If a sar of truma fell on top of a stored pile and he skimmed it off, Rabbi Eliezer says if there are 100 sars in the layer skimmed, it becomes annulled in 101. But Rabbi Yeshua says it does not become annulled if it is a sar of truma fell on top of the stored pile, they must skim it off. If so, why did they say truma is now in 101? It is not known whether it had become mixed up or whether it had fallen. If there were two baskets or two piles and a sar of truma fell into one of them and it is not known into which it fell, they would combine to annul it. Rav Shimon says even if they are in two towns, they combine to annul. Yeah, I never understood that line that they were in two towns. I mean, how do they
Yeah.
know?
Uh, so he's saying because the suffix joins them together.
Right. Okay. Rav Shua seems more makel than uh,
It's not a consistent line.
right,
There are places, and we've seen it explicitly that sometimes Rabbi Yeshua is more machmir than Rabbi Eliezer. We said that specifically in Truma.
right,
We had the case with the pressed figs in the mouth of the jugs,
right.
and um, Rabbi I think Rabbi Eliezer allowed you to judge against the whole jug, even though it isn't really mixed in.
Right. Shavius, Dalid, Dalid. If one flips vines or recuts reeds, Rabbi Yossi Achilles says one must keep distant 100th. I'm sorry, one handbreadth. Rabbi Akiva says he cuts it in his usual manner with an axe, a sickle, a saw, or whatever he prefers. A tree which split may be tied up in the seventh year, not so that it should heal, but that it should not continue. From when figs may eat one of three fruits in the seventh year. The unripe ones, when they redden, one may eat his bread with them in the field. Once they begin ripening, he takes them into his house, so that in the other years of the 7 year cycle, he's liable to the tithes. And unripe grapes, when they have produced liquid, one may eat his bread with them in the field. Once they have ripened, he may take them into his house, and so also in the other years of the 7 year cycle, he is liable to tithes.
Brachos.
Come on here. Hey, brachos, Dalet Aleph. The tefillah of the morning until noon. Rabbi Huda says till 4 hours of the day, and the mincha till tefillah until the evening. Rabbi Huda says until midway through the mincha, the evening tefillah is not fixed, and the musaf all day. Rabbi Huda says until the seventh hour. See, no mistake there. Skip one page. Oh. Um, base. When the Chumya of Hananya would enter the Bet Midrash and depart, he would offer a short prayer. And they asked him, what place is there for this prayer? And he said to them, when entering, I pray that no stumbling block should arise through me, and when I leave, I give thanks to my lot. Reb Gamliel says every person is obliged to recite Shemona Esrei daily, and Rabbi Yeshua says this digest of Shemona Esrei. Rabbi Akiva says if his prayer is fluent in his mouth, he recites Shemona Esrei, and if not, a digest of the 18th.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have Olios. Okay, Zion. That's Zion. In what case does this apply? When the hive is a utensil with windows. However, if it was broken and stuffed with straw, or the window was covered, what is considered covered? When there is no window the size of a handbreadth, and an olive-sized piece of corpse is located underneath the hive, utensils directly below the hive, as deep as one can go, become tamei. If the olive-sized piece is above the hive, utensils directly above the olive-sized piece up to the sky become tamei. If the olive-sized piece is inside the hive, or the house inside the hive, and the house becomes tamei. If the hive is a handbreadth above the ground and there is tumor below it, or in the house, or inside the hive, everything becomes tamei except for what is above the hive. If the tumor is above the hive, utensils directly above the tumor up to the sky become tamei. And if the hive fills the entire house and there is less than a handbreadth of space between the hive and the joist, and there is a tumor inside the hive, the house becomes tamei. If there is tumor inside the house, everything inside the house remains tahor, because it is the way of tumor to exit, but not the way of tumor to enter. This law applies whether the hive is standing upright or whether it is lying on its side, and whether there is one hive or there are two.
Okay.
Into idios. A Zion Aleph. Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Tzadok testified regarding a firstborn donkey redemption sheep that died that the Kohen has no claim at all upon the owner. Where Eliezer says the owner is responsible for the redemption sheep, just as if for the 5 selim of a son. But the sages say the owner is not responsible for the redemption sheep, rather it is like redemption money of Ma'aser Sheni. Reb Tzadok testified concerning the bride of non-kosher grasshoppers that it is tahor, because the earlier Mishnah had stated non-kosher grasshoppers that were pickled together with kosher grasshoppers do not render the brine forbidden. Reb Tzadok testified concerning where the flowing waters are greater than the trickling waters, then they are valid. And that was an incident in Ras Hapila where the incident was brought before the sages and they ruled the mingled water fit. And we have Mod Cotton. Camel Zion. Garments may not be rent, shoulders may not be bared, and the mourner's meal may not be served except by relatives of the deceased. The mourner's meal is only served on a set-up bed. We may not bring food to the house of a mourner, neither on a tray, nor on a salva, nor on a decorated basket, only in plain baskets. We do not say the mourner blessing during Kol HaMoed, but we stand in rows and offer consolation, and they then dismiss the public. We do not set down the bier in the street, so that as to not to encourage eulogies. The biers of women are never set down out of respect, and women sing dirges during Kol HaMoed, and they may not clap. And Rashael says those near the bier may clap. On Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, and Purim, they may sing dirges and clap on any of these days, but they may not engage in responsive wailing. Once the deceased is buried, they neither sing dirges nor clap. What is meant by dirges? That all lament in unison, and what is meant by wailing? The ones that one speaks and all others respond after her. And the verse states, and teach your daughters a lament, and each woman shall teach their neighbor a wailing. However, as regards the future, the verse states, he will destroy death forever, and my Lord Hashem Elohim will write tears from upon every face, and he will remove the shame of his people from the entire earth, for Hashem has spoken.
Adonai, Sefes Moed Katan, and tomorrow is Chagiga.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Have a
Have a
great
lovely day.
day. Enjoy, and I will see you, Mr. Shem, tomorrow. Thank you.